Puerto Rico occupies a unique space in American identity. Definitely American and yet distinctly apart. It exists in a strange limbo between statehood and independence as an unincorporated territory of the United States. It has a long history of colonizers and would-be colonizers that have deeply impacted the national psyche. We're off to meet some of the luminaries that bring form to a broader Puerto Rican identity.
From a New York and expat poet and performer, to an international artist from the unique community of Louisa, and a famous, sometimes infamous, kayaking environmental activist, these are some of the people that represent the beautiful menagerie that is Puerto Rican identity. El Yunque, the only rainforest in America that's also a national park. Its vast canopy of trees and sprawling mountains are where La Bruja, the Good Witch, asks us to meet her.
A native of the Bronx, Caridad de la Luz is a poet, actress, and activist who has captivated audiences since the debut of her first production, Boogie Rican Boulevard. One of the foremost spoken word poets in the world, she has continued to represent her Neo-Rican heritage and her Puerto Rican foundations in performances across the globe.
This is a sacred place. El Yunque is a Taíno name, so I feel like this is a beacon for our Taíno ancestors, as well as being the lungs of our island and of the planet.
Who are the Taínos?
The Taíno are the indigenous people of Puerto Rico and the Caribbean. That name Taíno, you know, they say that it means the noble people. Boricua comes from like that term of being Boricua.
And that means Puerto Rican, but it's really Taíno word.
That's
so
right. From
Puerto
Boriquen, because
yeah,
the Taíno
Boriquen.
name of Puerto Rico is Boriquen.
Right.
So, you know, all of this to me is like ancestors watching. So even driving up here to meet with you, I get full of emotion.
Yeah.
That idea of obliterating a people, you know, it's in the history books that the Spaniards came and the Taíno no longer were here. But, you know, that isn't true because, you know, luckily we have DNA testing and, you know, I have Taíno blood in me and I'm so proud to know that despite colonization, they still found a way to survive. When the Spaniards came, it was called like encomienda, and that was kind of like the feudal system that they established in colonization. And if a Taíno was clothed, Christian, and capable, then they were able to integrate. Obviously, they were able to assimilate and survive as a survival tactic and technique. But then there are these mountains where there are caves where they were able to hide and live and survive. It really speaks on the resiliency of our people.
Wow. So Caridad, you're from New York.
Yes, I'm born and raised in the boogie down Bronx. Puerto Rico has always healed me in ways that no other place in the world has. You know, coming back, this is the longest that I've been here. Now I've been here.
And why is that again?
Well, my grandmother was put into a senior citizen home and I wanted to be close to her. And a friend of mine, Yasmin Hernandez, who is a beautiful muralist, she calls it rematriating. So
Right.
I have returned and I have rematriated
Oh, I love that.
to my indigenous land. And I wrote a poem recently about returning home because of gentrification, colonization. We don't want a Puerto Rico without Puerto Ricans. So it's important that all of the Puerto Ricans in the diaspora return home. Return home.
We retired to Degree 18 Juice Bar to learn more about her passion for the island.
Being born in the Bronx, you know, the Bronx is the home of hip hop, a home of salsa as well. So growing up with that musical element informed so much of, my style, my delivery, and then being Puerto Rican, like I created hip hop that was a fusion of all those things that I was, and at the time, it wasn't mainstream, it wasn't accepted, there were no Latina rappers, so I felt a pushback, but did it anyway. And, inside we had salsa and rice and beans and all of that, and then outside we had pizza and hamburger, so I have always lived in two worlds. I realized that I didn't have to choose, that I was equally both. So I feel like my purpose has been to be a bridge between generations, between cultures, and between lands. I've been La Bruja 25 years now. And to come to this point, to be speaking here on those things is a dream for me. The emotion I feel is just joy and
happiness.
I am happy.
At one point, New Yorican was kind of almost pejorative, right? Was it?
It was. When I learned that there was a New Yorican culture thriving, I felt at home. People think that, Puerto Ricans went to New York as a choice. It was actually, my family was displaced by the military bases here in Puerto Rico. It was a way to survive. Sometimes I felt more Puerto Rican because I was in New York, because I felt like I had to defend this paradise that my people were from, and then using those arts and elements that I learned in New York, that toughness, that grit, putting it into, that passion and love.
Popular culture knows you from HBO and all these different shows and the things spoken word and all the things you do. Do you feel like you're a voice for New Yorkans?
I love being New Yorican and I love what I do, and I do feel like I speak for many that cannot be heard, past and present, and I feel privileged.
So you have a particular spoken word piece, Puerto Rico.
Yes, Puerto Rico, right? We know Puerto Rico, poor, to, and Rico being rich. And I feel that no matter how financially strained we are, when we know our history, it makes us rich. And when I wrote Puerto Rico, I was thinking of, if Puerto Rico could speak, what would she say? Puerto Rico me llaman. I am Puerto Rico. That is what you call me. Yo me llamo Puerto Rico. If you came from me, you will go from me. You will come to me. You will grow from me. Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico. Africa, Spain, Taíno, madre del jibarito, defended por Albizu. I've made many sacrificios. A mí misma me critico. I have taught all of my people to turn the other cheek, though. I've been a refuge político to the French, the Dutch, the Spanish, the English, the Catholics, the soldiers, the tourists. I've treated everyone as equal, but now there is a war against all Puerto Ricans. We are fighting an elusive creature that owns me as its paraíso. ¿Cómo me explico? ¿A qué me califico? ¿Por qué me mortifico? I am not poor, but rico. We were offered fool's gold while they robbed us of a sharehold. While nacionalistas foretold the takeover of control, we danced and fell into the American mold. We warmed ourselves with tropical memories while facing the American cold. But what is untold, we will expose, because there are no more cheeks to turn. Though the hypocrisy has left us holding two faces, we've been slapped with debt we didn't earn. Told to strap up our boots, but left without shoelaces. Not welcome in one, but living in two places. Between here and there is no place for me. Oh, say, this rape culture, oh, say, can you see? It is always to victim blame, so the truth you won't see. And they've asked me how I let it go this far. Beneath the shirt off my back that I gave are the scars. This patriotic love of one flag, this promised freedom of one star. While there's 50 United States, but not room for one more. My children since birth have been treated as whores. And what was mine, but mistaken as yours. Collectors of foreign sectors are banging down my door. The first mass exodus was in the 50s, and we're witnessing the sequel. and it's past 2020. If you ask me right now what it is that I'm thinking, I'm holding my people up to stop them from sinking. They would see the richness of my power if they started interlinking, and the colonial mindset would start collectively shrinking. So stand up, my children. We will always be connected por el cordón umbilical, maternar por el ombligo. With my mangroves and my mangoes, yo los purifico. Los huracanes de Yocajú, yo los pacifico. Y las riquezas de Atabey, yo los multiplico. If you came from me, you will go from me. You will come to me. You will grow from me. Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico. We are not poor, but rico. We are not yours, but equal.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful.
With La Bruja's beautiful vision of Puerto Rico still in the air, we're off to meet Daniel Lind-Ramos. He's an acclaimed international artist and recipient of a MacArthur Fellowship who hails from the predominantly black community of Louisa. From vejigantes, traditional coconut masks, to bomba music, Louisa is renowned across the island for its unique culture and heritage. His work is an exploration of Puerto Rican identity as a whole through that unique lens. We caught up with him at the Museo de Arte de Puerto Rico in San Juan, where some of his work is on display.
I was quite good in baseball.
Really?
The earlier image that I have doing something that I remember, I was drawing the walls of my house.
Right, on the wall.
Right, and my mother and my uncles allowed me to draw because they were doing something too.
Yeah.
My mother was sewing and knitting, and my uncle was making masks. So it's like I joined them, but I knew that I wanted to be an artist, not a baseball
Not a
player.
baseball player. So tell me a little bit about, this piece.
But in this case, 1797, when the day when the English army tried to seize Puerto Rico,
Yeah.
and they received a very strong resistance from Puerto Ricans in general, but specifically the black militia from Loíza took a very important part in the defeating of the English army, right?
Right.
And that's a fact. So I wanted to play with tools that are related with Loíza, with the labels. Like the one in the center, that's a real one from my community.
This is historical.
Yes, because I knew the person that used to work cutting coconuts. Then I wanted to relate labor, I wanted to relate community, I wanted to relate my family with an event, which is the victory against the English army. So that's the reason why I painted the coconut, suggesting the color of England flag. Those are masks that we used to do in Loíza. And as you see, they also have a point. So there is a relationship with the warrior, with the worker. One of the customs of the Loíza fiestas, el viejo, the old man. The old man who knows the history of the community, of the region, blah, blah, blah. And it connects back to Africa. Of course, there are other way of reading this. That I will leave it in the mystery.
Yeah, let someone else decide.
Right.
Does Louisa feel like a large portion of who you are?
Yeah. I developed a sense of belongingness because of those beautiful experiences that I have had there. And as you know, artists talk about what they have experienced, if you are honest.
I mean, there's a history of Puerto Rico where it's been colonized, one would say even now, still.
Yeah.
Where you have a piece that, shows that there has been
resistance. Memory as a resistance. Yeah. Art has that power. Art has that power.
Well, I'm glad you didn't go into baseball. Daniel is also developing a community center to help expose the often marginalized communities of Louisa to the arts and culture that he was privy to in his own childhood.
Because so early in my life, I have the opportunity to see pigment, brushes, painting, a lot of people working, doing things with hands. So I was thinking about all those children that didn't have the experience that I had when that story was there. Then I bought the house where I was born, and I am fixing it because I would like to have a space where I could show my finished work, but I will have a place and a space where I could develop activities, cultural activities related with art, so the community could participate.
Right.
So if you have a space where you could bring, like artists, workshops,
Yeah.
and when I say artists, I'm talking about music, poetry, literature, because I have a lot of
Sculpture.
friends
Yeah.
that would love to go there to do that and share it with the community. And I think that would be beautiful.
Is it possible for a young child in Luisa that will be introduced to this project, is it possible for that person to dream that one day they become a Daniel?
I don't think in those terms. I used to teach in Loíza, in high school. And it was beautiful when I saw a few of them that follow, the arts. I am not only talking about children's, I am also talking about grown-up people that maybe were longing to have an opportunity to that, like that, and they didn't have the chance.
If you have something to say, I think sometimes this medium of art is the best way to express or understand
Yeah.
or communicate or
Yeah.
explore.
Right, yeah.
And there's a legacy there's a history really that through the art, it's a trail of the community,
Yeah.
a physical
Yeah.
thing that will always be there, hopefully.
Yeah. And there are other people that do the same thing in other media, like cooking, poetry, as I told you, dance, songs, So everybody's reacting to their own experiences. And that's what I have in mind when I'm talking about this place.
Arts and poetry have the power to transform our world, but some people are a little more direct. Not everyone has an anti-protesting law named after them. Tito Kayak does. An electrician by trade, we first met him in the wake of Hurricane Maria, when he was single-handedly restoring power to remote regions the government couldn't get to. And that desire to act is at the center of everything he does.
A man of controversy, he's best known for protesting environmental causes around the naval occupation of Vieques, often equipped with nothing more than a flag or a kayak and peaceful action.
We met up in the heart of Old San Juan at the wonderful spot El Boquerón.
I talked with a friend, a professor, Gassil Sweat. Hey, let's go. I made something. They go to the Statue of Liberty. He said, crazy. How? We're going to climb the Statue of Liberty. I don't know how. But I close my eyes and I see myself in the top. I was pretty crazy. We call a lot of people. Other people say, no, don't do that. The wind's so heavy. No, no. And the other day, we make it. We put the Vieques flag. We put 2 banners, free Vieques. It was important to make that action,
Right.
because we send a message to the world, and at least the Navy get out of Vieques.
I remember one of the stories that was very popular was when you were on top of a crane, was it?
Yes.
You were protesting on top of a crane?
5 to 6 days in the crane.
Yeah, 5 or 6 days in the crane.
Yeah.
And by that time, the police are surrounding you.
Yeah.
What were you protesting at that point? What was the action?
All the shore belong to the people, and in the place they are making the building, they're supposed to leave that place like a window to the sea. The shores belong to everybody and to the ecosystem.
Right.
They were supposed to go down the how say that in English?
What is it in Spanish?
Rappelling.
Oh, repelling.
Rappelling.
Yeah,
Yeah,
repelling.
no, that's English.
Well, okay. When I go down, there was they put a kayak. I go to the kayak. There was a lot of boats,
Yeah.
police boats, jet ski boat. There was a lot of people in the water trying to stop the police. I go to the kayak, and I paddle, go behind a bridge, and then I change with other guy.
Oh, and another guy, you switched with a guy. Yeah.
And then a helicopter continue follow the guy. and I swam
Yeah.
to the
So
other place.
the other guy's just paddling away.
Yeah, and it was very funny because it was
Yeah.
the police
Right.
with the helicopter, follow the guy. And I moved along to the shore. And I was close to here. Hey, close this place. I was in La Perla. And there, the people took me to be out of the police.
It's Tito and it's a kayak and very little else. But the actions that you do have a ripple effect. They make a big statement.
But tell us what it is that drives you.
Wow. In 1995, I make an environmental group. I put the name Amigos del Mar, Friends of the Sea. It's an environmental revolutionary movement.
Yep.
Once, send a message to the people. Everybody have a responsibility with the environmental. Right. But at the same time, send a message to the government, and we are going to Vieques, and we are going to take the Navy out. Tito, it's impossible. Hey, you're going to see, no matter how little we are. And it's important to say a message to our people in Puerto Rico. But at the same time, it's the same message that we send to all the people in the world.
And that's what I love about people like yourself that represent a big portion of who Puerto Rico is, because they're independent, they're fighting a colonization, they're making their own actions, and you guys, you've done such a great job inspiring people that you can do something. You don't have to sit back and do nothing. You can do something.
The owner of the bar, Percy, interjected here with a special drink in honor of Puerto Rico, the jellyfish.
For all the people that once belonged to Amigos del Mar, for all the people that helped me, Oscar Lopez también for Puerto Rico, all the people that believe in the environmental, all believe that belong to Puerto Rico, por Vieques, Culebra y Hospital para Vieques.
Salud
Vieques,
para eso.
salud.
Para Viegas y all of those personas. Gracias.
One shot.
Oiga, amigo.
Yes.
I love it, Percy.
Excelente. Gracias.
Tremendo, brother.
Muy amable.
Thank you, Percy.
Identity is a complicated thing. Something unfixed, like plastic subject to the effects of time. Art, poetry, and activism are all ways to explore and parse that complexity and fluidity.
Sometimes it's not about knowing who you are or where you're from. It's about passionately exploring the unknown, the mystery of our heritage, our memory, and our beliefs.